When he says that the party of the left is the party of killing, that doesn't happen on the right. You don't have the right
Well,
to.
you didn't mention the two Democratic state lawmakers who were shot in Minnesota, or the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania Josh Shapiro having his home firebombed. It's all you didn't mention that. It's all become you pick the ones on your side, and this is what I mean by being a bit depressing. It seems to me that in America, mainstream politicians of the left and the right are under threat of violence, and as we've seen in Charlie Kirk's sad case, murder. An American right-wing polemicist, debater, controversialist, and social media star called Charlie Kirk was shot dead yesterday speaking at a rally on the campus of Utah Valley University. He was only 31 years old. Kirk was a prominent MAGA movement leader and a friend of the president. He'd been credited with getting young people out to vote for Mr. Trump. The identity or the motive of the murderer remains to be established. Whoever did it is still on the run. Kirk's tragic killing has been condemned by Democrat and Republican politicians. Former U.S. President Barack Obama spoke for the majority of Americans when he said, quote, "This kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy." But his death has also underscored the deep political divisions, and Kirk's killing is not being universally mourned. There's even been recriminations and division about it in Congress. And social media is carrying clips, unsavory clips, from people saying they're glad he's dead. It's not a pleasant or hopeful aftermath to his death. Let's speak to Hal Lambert, a Republican who served on Mr. Trump's inaugural committee. Hal Lambert, let's start with this, because I think a lot of British listeners will not have heard of Charlie Kirk. What was Charlie Kirk's significance in the MAGA movement?
Well, I was friends with Charlie Kirk for the last decade. I met him first in 2015 when he was 21 years old, and had recently, within a couple of years of that, had started Turning Point. Turning Point was his organization. His goal was to work with the youth in the United States and convince them that conservatism was the way to go. He was very effective. His organization became massive. I do believe he was very instrumental in having the youth vote, the college vote, move towards President Trump in this last election. He debated endlessly. He had a podcast that was one of the top podcasts in the United States. He was not afraid to go on any program. He had the left on his shows. He went on college campuses and debated the left. He came to Oxford there not too long ago and debated the left there. He was tremendous at what he did. And he was a big threat to the left. And when you say that we don't know the motive, I guess that's technically true, but I think the motive is pretty obvious. It was to shut down debate. It was to stifle his political dialogue because he was so effective.
Well, he was certainly a formidable debater. I'd seen him in action. But are you surprised by how split the reaction has been to his death?
I'm not surprised, actually. I think the left, when you call the president of the United States Hitler and a Nazi, and they referred to Charlie Kirk as a Nazi, they've called Elon Musk a Nazi. When you do those kinds of things, you have people who take that literally and try to commit violence based on that. That rhetoric is really, I would say, dangerous rhetoric. They certainly have a right to do it, but these are not just average citizens using that term. These are politicians that are referring to Donald Trump as Nazi. These are media hosts referring to Trump and Charlie Kirk as a Nazi. They've attacked Charlie relentlessly, and the outcome is what we've seen, and it's devastating. He had two small children. As you stated, he was only 31 years old. He never spoke with hate. He was always smiling. He was always, he never was angry on his programs. He simply debated. And there's no one like him on the left. They would never go on to conservative programs and debate this. He was a phenomenal person. Like I said, I've been friends with him for a decade. He was super friendly and nice to everyone. And it's very sad to see this happen. And when you see these videos online of college kids saying they're glad he's dead, adults, and we've already seen media people be fired because of the immediate reactions that they had, saying basically, hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, lead to these types of actions, effectively blaming Charlie Kirk for his speech is what caused him to be killed. And that's something that, no society can sustain.
And I understand that you say blaming Charlie Kirk for what he was saying is obviously absurd, but it's the reaction isn't just some stupid things from the left. I mean, it seems to be all over. Elon Musk, his reaction was to say, quote, "The left is the party of murder." There was a shouting match in the House of Representatives yesterday over political blame for the death. On the other side, a bloviator on the left-wing MSNBC news channel implied that Kirk was a divisive figure who had almost kind of brought it on himself. And for those of us on the outside looking in, it's all very depressing.
It is very depressing. But when Elon Musk says that, I mean, he's referring to the 2 assassination attempts on President Trump, the first of which was a miracle that he survived it. The assassination attempt of U.S. Supreme Court justices by the left. You had a Bernie Sanders supporter try to kill an entire baseball team full of Republicans. So when he says that the party of the left is the party of killing, that doesn't happen on the right. You don't have the right to.
You didn't mention the 2 Democratic state lawmakers who were shot in Minnesota, or the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania having Josh Shapiro having his home firebombed. It's all you didn't mention that. It's all become you pick the ones on your side, and this is what I mean by being a bit depressing. It seems to me that in America, mainstream politicians of the left and the right are under threat of violence, and as we've seen in Charlie Kirk's sad case, murder.
Yeah, I just don't agree they're equivalent. I really don't. We had the United States, cities burning because of left-wing protests after George Floyd. So it's just not the same. The left is the party of violence. The Josh Shapiro firebombing, no one even knows what that's about. But nobody's been out there calling Josh Shapiro a Nazi. Okay, no one was calling the senators in Minnesota Nazis. This is about the left wanting to shut down Charlie Kirk. I think Elon Musk obviously has to have massive security. You don't see that kind of thing on the left. You just don't.
But are you really saying that the left has the monopoly of violence in America? I mean, people on the left, people in the center, people even on the moderate center right, they remember January the 6th. That wasn't the left. And you have kind of glossed over the 2 Democratic state lawmakers in Minnesota. They were both shot. It's not all. I take your point about the left. I'm not arguing with that. My argument is that you seem to be saying it's a monopoly, and that's not true.
It's not a monopoly, but it's certainly a majority. Okay, and a vast majority. So, and again, do you even know the name of the shooter of the Minneapolis Senators? Because I don't. I mean, no one knows really what that was about. The story didn't even really go anywhere because there wasn't really a clear motive. No one knows what happened.
No, well, we still don't know the name of who shot Charlie Kirk either.
Yeah, because they haven't caught that person. That's right. But they will, and we will know the motive once that person's caught. I feel confident that the FBI will catch that person. But look, this should be a wake-up call, and there needs to be a dialogue tone down that happens over this. You can't call one political party a fascist, Nazi, Hitler over and over and over again by leadership within the other party and not expect violence to come from that. And Donald Trump is not Hitler. Charlie Kirk was not a Nazi. Okay, you don't see that coming from the right. No one's calling Barack Obama Hitler or a Nazi. Okay, no one did that. No one did that with Joe Biden. It doesn't happen on the Republican side. It just doesn't. So this equation. And by the way, you're already seeing people saying, "Oh, Charlie deserved this because he supported the Second Amendment with gun rights." I mean, look, the politicization of this, these attacks on Charlie Kirk is really disgusting. And by the way, no one did that when Josh Shapiro's house was firebombed on the right. No one went out and attacked him and said he deserved it. But that's all you see from many, many people on the left about Charlie Kirk.
Well, as you mentioned, Kirk was a staunch advocate for the Second Amendment, and he even claimed that, quote, guns save lives. So I guess unlike when a lot of these shootings happen in America, particularly mass shootings, it leads to a debate about gun control. I guess in this case, Mr. Kirk's death will not lead to a renewed debate about gun control.
Well, the sad thing is that people on the left are saying, yeah, he wanted gun, he didn't want gun control. This is what happens when you believe that. It's really sad. And to see, to see, 20 something year old girls saying that, they're happy that Charlie Kirk is dead, with a father of two young daughters, and a widowed wife now, is really just, it makes you wonder what's going on in their mind, what's going on in their head, to actually want to say that on camera.
No, I
Uh,
understand that.
it's,
And
it's
I've seen some of it, and it's very distasteful, as I mentioned in my intro. Let me finish by asking this, Mr. Lambert. What do you think will be the political fallout now from Charlie Kirk's death, given everything we've been talking about? I say death, from his murder.
it's a good question. I've thought about it. I don't know where this goes from here. I think we'll know more once they capture the assassin. But it should create some real change in this country. You are seeing people that do say that this has changed their view of the Democrat Party because of this. So I think we'll just have to see where this goes from here. I really don't have a good answer for you on what happens.
I
Obviously,
understand.
President Trump has made a statement about this, and he was a close friend of the president and of Don Jr. and the family. So we will obviously hear more about this in the coming weeks.
Well, Hal Lambert, we'll leave it there. I thank you for coming on Times Radio, because I know you're talking about the loss of a friend, which makes it all the more difficult. So I thank you for your time and for your thoughts. That's Hal Lambert there on the murder, political murder, we think, of Charlie Kirk. Thank you for that.